it's these stories that mean a lot. These stories that just make me feel so much. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and NBs, to our weekly little pink eye podcast type show thing where I talk about movies that I really liked and maybe cry, maybe talk about my feelings a little bit, but eventually just it's about love. It's about loving film. I'm not a critic. I'm not, a reviewer. I just like movies. I like making them. I like talking about them, and it's important for me to just talk about it. I want to share my love for it, and hopefully, it encourages you to go watch these films, to talk about them, and find the good as best as possible. Because I feel like social media has kind of just encouraged just shitting on, making fun of all these sorts of things for a lot of stuff. And while there are such things as not great films, there's still some people who do enjoy them, and I love that. I admire that, and I don't want to add to that constant fire of just like, oh, this movie's bad, everyone's making fun of it, let me join in the fun. And I really want to talk about exhibiting forgiveness. I just got home from watching it, and while I was going to save it for the next one, I think I want everyone to go see it. I think this is one of my favorite movies of this year. Let me look up the people that worked on it, because I really want to give credit where credit's due. I'm just gonna share the synopsis. A black artist on the path to success is derailed by an unexpected visit from his estranged father, a recovering addict desperate to reconcile. Together they struggle and learn that forgetting might be a greater challenge than forgiving. And it's written and directed by Titus Kafar. The leads include Andre Holland, Andrew Day, John Earl J, Aunjanue Ellis Taylor, and they're all phenomenal in this picture. I think I want people to go see this before you listen to me talk about it. Please do. And of course, the way I'm going to talk about it, it's not going to be as compelling or effective as Wiz Black, who understands this a bit further than I do personally. But I'm going to try to relate to it from experience as a minority, because it deals with parenthood, with abusive childhood, and the trauma that pushes some artists to create and cope with some of that trauma through their paintings, through their work, through their art. In a very much personal matter, I certainly, as a filmmaker, I do try to discuss and talk about my own traumas, my own relationships through the art that I create. And so I can certainly relate in that aspect. And as a minority who is Mexican and has grown up in these very machismo, very toxic masculine environments, it has affected me. It has certainly affected me. And I think the point of this movie is definitely the fact that you can't avoid it. You can't not address it. You can't not confront it. And it shows us this journey of trying to understand where all the pain came from, where it began, whether it was our parents or our parents' parents or our parents' parents' parents. It's this generational cycle of trauma, of abuse that comes from, being a minority in a white supremacist society, and the struggle of being an artist, trying to reconcile with that, but also trying to make a living off of your work, off of your art. And throughout the movie, we do show some of these people who buy the paintings of the artist, and all of them are white, and it's very obvious and on the nose of what they're trying to talk about there, about how white people, white liberals, that sort of deal, kind of use black trauma as a way to make themselves feel better. So they purchase black art, they watch black movies, they watch pieces, they watch pieces of film and like art and media from Black creators as a way to ignore their white supremacy and racist habits, and try to appear as, oh, I'm not racist, I have X by Basquiat or Y from Jordan Peele. So it has that conversation a little bit, but that isn't ultimately the point of the film. It is about trauma, it's about forgiveness, about how we can move forward into the future without having this heavy weight on our shoulders, of having that pain, that struggle of being a child and seeing a parent abuse your other parent, and what that does to you, and how we can try to heal from that, how we can make sure that our children don't suffer that same consequence, that same suffering. And exhibiting forgiveness is incredibly poignant, it's beautiful, it's incredibly, it can, you know, when it comes to movies that talk about Black trauma, about slavery, about racial prejudice, about these sorts of deals, about white supremacy, sometimes it does fall into this genre of trauma porn, of witnessing minority people suffer, and somehow we are better for acknowledging it and recognizing it and these sorts of deals, but we don't actually confront our own internal white supremacy and racism towards our own communities. I think this movie does a really good job in not veering into that direction. It really depends on who you are, the type of person you are, to be able to walk out of this film with better insight, with hopefully a better thought process, with a healthier relationship with yourself and your family. And like I said, this is not the type of movie that white people can just kind of go into and watch and feel better about themselves after leaving, unless, you know, they are just cringe white supremacists. And it deals with a lot of heavy topics that hopefully I'm covering to the best of my ability, but I really recommend it. I think it's a beautiful film. It just captures a lot of this pain, a lot of this suffering through this art form that ultimately does find a resolve, that does find a way to forgive for taking that childhood away, for causing so much pain, for causing so much suffering, and being able to move forward in life without that holding you down. And it's a really heartbreaking film. And we see a bit of our relationships with Christianity, with religion, with this thought process to try to also cope with that pain, cope with the trauma. And some people find it through art, some people find it through religion, and it does have a bit of a conversation with the religion aspect of that, the art aspect of that, of these parallels of, you know, we can't fully delve into religion or art or anything and expect for things to feel better, for things to heal. Because while it helps, it's not the only thing that you have to do when it comes to trauma. It's very much a self-examination. It's a very personal process for every person. It has that conversation with religion, with the mother of the artist, who constantly quotes Bible verses, talks about the Bible, about if you can't forgive someone, then how do you expect someone to forgive you? Accept that person they're asking you to forgive caused a lot of pain for you, that abused you and your mother, and that really difficult conversation that we need to have with our parents sometimes to try to grow, to try to heal, try to have a better relationship, more loving relationship, and it's really really tough. It really just is, because I know I struggle personally with having to cope with not having the greatest upbringing, of also having a lot of privilege, of being born on this side of the border, of not having it as, bad as I maybe could have if I was born in Mexico. And it's really tough, because then, you try to talk about these things, you try to, feel these things, and sometimes your concerns, your feelings are ignored. And it can be really disheartening to try to heal, to try to grow as a person, when perhaps the family you're surrounded by, the people you're surrounded by, don't fully understand where you're coming from, or just dismiss it by saying, oh, we had it harder, or oh, my parents beat me, or my parents put me through X, Y, and Z, you have it a lot easier. So it has that conversation, and I don't know how much further in depth I can go into without spoiling the story, but I think this is a film that you really should watch. It's incredible. The people behind it were amazing, and it's really difficult. It is. Because films like this, it makes you think about it. Think about certain things a lot deeper, that are a lot more challenging, and talking to a camera and sharing it is not the easiest thing, but it's something that I find necessary, something that I find might help, and hopefully you can go watch this film and come out of it with a healthier relationship with yourself and with family and others. But I think I'd rather leave it at that, because I don't know how much more I can talk about it without breaking down. Man, this is a heavy one. I'm telling you, man, these films, oh boy, I love movies so much. I love them. And I'm only gonna talk about 2 this time, because I feel like talking 3 at a time might not be as efficient, or it makes less interesting content and stuff. But I'm gonna talk about We Live in Time. People are going crazy about Andrew Garfield and chicken chop date, and obviously it's an A24 rom-com. It's less rom-com, honestly, but it is definitely marketed as a rom-com for marketing purposes, for getting people in the theater. But surprisingly, it made me like British people a little bit more, and I really respect the film for that. Obviously, I'm jesting, I'm joking, all right? But Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are completely wonderful in this. Their chemistry is astounding. I think they are really, really interesting actors that just are able to portray layers and layers of multitude of complexity in their characters. And I really like them. I really admire them. Obviously, this film is a little bit lighter than most of the work that they do, and while there is this humor, this charm that is exhibited by these 2 leads, we follow a disjointed story. It takes us through different points of their life, throughout when they first met, to the end of their relationship, to maybe I shouldn't have said that. might have been a spoiler. I'm gonna, you know what? If you're watching this, you probably already watched it or don't care about spoilers. So, moving on. But it takes us throughout these different points of their life, and it shows us the types of person they were and, you know, become, and with their child and who they are before, and it's like a dream in a sense, because it feels like we're just revisiting memories as Florence Pugh's character is diagnosed with cancer for the second time, and we see this journey of, you know, trying to cope with that, with having a child, with, you know, when they first met, with, you know, this fear of not leaving behind something that our children can remember us by, of struggling through so much and still finding a way to push past that, to make something out of ourselves, and not just give our children bad memories, to give them good ones, to not let them see the pain as much. And it's interesting how exhibiting forgiveness and We Live in Time confront that theme of giving our children a better future in different perspectives. And this one, obviously, the terminal illness eventually does take Florence Pugh's life, or her character's life, my bad. But it takes her character's life, and we see this relationship between the two characters, with how they face this challenge of how do they, you know, in their own each personal matter, try to live their lives as best as possible, even with this eventuality that they know is coming, that they do their best to confront it, that they do their best to fight it, and ultimately ends in a very, very tragic footnote. And it's really heartbreaking, you know, how we as humans are able to confront something terminal, something that is inevitable, our deaths, because we know it's coming. I feel we are all aware to one sense of degree to another that eventually we're no longer going to be here. And what does that mean for us? What do we leave behind? What do we do when we're forced to face that reality of, I might have 6 months or 12 or maybe more, but eventually we're not going to be here. And that pain, that existentialist nature of death, how can we accept it? What we can do in the face of death, and how do we prepare the people that we love for that? And it's not easy at all. And lately I find myself thinking about a lot of that, especially with my own films coming out soon, about trying to build something, about trying to build something that matters to me, about creating something that matters to me. Maybe this is gonna be the last thing that I make. Maybe I won't have the chance to have a kid that I'm able to show, like, hey, look at this cool thing. Look at this thing that I'm really proud of. So, oh my God. It's these stories that mean a lot. These stories that they're just make me feel so much. I'm sorry. And these two films, man, these two films, they're just phenomenal. And yesterday I had my first public screening of my film, and in that moment I closed my eyes and I just listened. I heard and I felt, and I felt the air between the silence of these reactions, of these moments in time. It's these moments of, what do we leave behind? What can we do so that our children, our family, don't have to suffer because of us, that don't have to suffer because of our unresolved issues, of our unresolved traumas? Because we can't just delve deep into the art, or delve deep into religion, or delve deep into these vices, but doing our best with the help of people we love, people that we love, that pushes, that encourages us to confront these issues, to confront our traumas, to try to grow, to try to heal, to try to move forward, to try to be better. And I hope that's been interesting. Holy shit. I'm gonna cut it off at that. I think that's a good point to end it on. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's been interesting. I really am grateful for these little conversations, and if you liked it and you would like to see more, please subscribe and like and comment your thoughts on these movies if you've seen them. But please go watch these movies. Don't expect me to recap them. Don't expect me to oh, it's magnificent, it's this and that, you should go see it. I encourage you to go out of your way to investigate on your own, to download whatever Cinemark, AMC, all these apps. Fucking Christ. Actually, Fandango is really great on oh hey, when is this movie showing and where? So it's a really great app for that. But just be proactive about engaging in art, in film, and really just, oh, this is an interesting thing. I haven't really seen a trailer, or oh, this poster is interesting. I haven't really seen anyone talk about it, or I really encourage you to be proactive in your engagement. Pull up these films, go watch them, even if it's by yourself, because that can give you so much. It's such a fulfilling experience, and I really encourage you to do that. But my name has been Sergio Javier Valverde. I'm a Mexican filmmaker, and this has been Pink Eye Pictures. Thanks for watching.